Welcome to Productive Joy with Dr. Christie, where fun meets action.
Hi, friends. Welcome to Productive Joy. As with every week, I am super excited about this week's guest. Lindsay Farrell is an entrepreneur who has done some pretty amazing things, but she didn't start there. She started out as a teacher of the deaf, actually, and is an interpreter. But then she realized that her kids needed something that didn't exist. And so she created it. And then she created the next thing and then the next thing, and has since done some pretty awesome things with her talents. And what I really enjoyed about getting to know Lindsay is, well, there were a couple things. The first one, she knows her true north. She knows exactly who has given her her talents, and she is willing to fight for that. And I think that's special. I know that everybody listening doesn't believe the same things, but I do know that when someone believes something true and in their hearts, it shines through everything else they do. And that is how Lindsay feels about Jesus. And I love it. It was a true example of what it looks like when you wear your faith as who you are. Thought that was pretty great. I also really appreciated the fact that she recognized that although she has many talents, they serve in different ways, and it's okay to pivot. It's okay to change. It's okay to do something different than you intended to do when you first started out in life, right? We all think, okay, this is the path I'm taking, and off I go. I was an educator by trade. I knew I wanted to be a teacher. I went to school for, well, biology was my major with a minor in secondary education because I knew I wanted to teach high school, period. Thank you very much. I haven't taught high school in almost 20 years. I have taught adults for the last 25 years, though. So never say never, and recognize that it is super important that you use your talents for what's afforded to you outside of your space. I think sometimes we pigeonhole ourselves and we say, well, I have this degree and this is the only thing that I can do with it. And I don't believe that to be true. Instead, I think these are our talents and these are the things we can do with it. Needs to be a better and more intelligent way of looking at how we do things. So, as a leader, what are you doing to use your talents? And how is that showing up in the workplace? And more importantly, how are you utilizing the talents of your team? Just because you hired somebody to fill a job description does not necessarily mean that all of their gifts lie in that basket. Instead, you need to get to know your people and say, I think you'd actually be better served over here. What if you also did this with your job and I took something off of your plate? Now, that's the important part, leaders. Understand that you must remove something if you're going to add something, but recognizing that just because we are classically trained to do X does not mean we can't also do Y and Z. I really appreciated learning that with and alongside Lindsay. She is a delightful human who it just is clear she's figuring it out and she's doing a really, really good job of it. So, you may have heard of some of her products. Ryan and Rose is the name of her company, but she has lots of cutie products, which I thought was cool. And she said that just kind of happened, but the cutie products are things like a pacifier clip that is not just for pacifiers, but also for toys and other things that's shorter so it doesn't hurt the kids. Well, I have lots of friends who have littles, and those friends that have littles almost all have one of these clips. You can get them at Walmart and Target and all of these different cool places. And yet it was born out of a necessity. She needed it for her daughter, Ryan. How many things in life do we create because we really need it? Like she talked about another one that I thought was super cool. You know how when you have to give your children medicine and it's in the liquid droppers and the dropper does not go all the way to the bottom of the bottle, you can't get it all? Well, they've created one that goes all the way to the bottom. Why wouldn't it? Makes great sense. So, what I learned from Lindsay is that you have to be a little like Rodney Copperbottom. For those of you that remember the movie Robots, in the movie Robots, Rodney Copperbottom saw a need and filled a need. He recognized that things needed to be a certain way and he figured out how to make it happen. That's the kind of learner, entrepreneur, boss, employee we need to be. We need to be the person who sees a need and fills a need instead of just saying, you know what, not my job, not my problem. We can't keep doing that. If we keep doing that, then we're always going to get the same results, and those results are not going to be what we're looking for. So, whether you are in charge of your company or in charge of your home or in charge of both, or working for someone or working with someone, recognize that we all have different talents. And that those talents are meant to be sparkly and shiny and meant to be used. And you shouldn't ask everyone to do exactly the same thing unless you want to get pretty mediocre results. If you want extraordinary results, then you've got to let people shine in their own ways. We're not all meant to shine exactly the same way. And if we're continually asking people to be really, really good at exactly the same things, then everybody's going to be frustrated with something, right? It's not fun. Definitely not fun. So, my reminder to you today, as we skirt into the last month of the year and we wrap up 2024, is that you do not have to enter into 2025 exactly the same way you leave 2024. You can learn some lessons. You can rethink some things. I know, New Year's resolutions are cliche and why do they happen in January and all that good stuff. And yet, this is when we tend to assess things. So, if you're taking a minute to assess your year and you're looking at what you did well and what you've not done as well as we, like I said, just skirt into December, I want you to think about, what do you really want 2025 to look like? And how can you leverage some of the things that you're learning to make that true and happen and right and real? Because you can. And it doesn't take a whole lot to make it happen. So take a few minutes to write it down. Write down the things that you had hoped to accomplish this year, the things you accomplished this year, and then what you need to do to make sure that your gifts are being utilized appropriately. And then do it with your team. Wouldn't that be cool? Wouldn't it be great if you sat down with your people and said, and you get to define your people, right? They might work for you or they might just live in your house with you, but sit down with your people and say, hey, what is it that you've been really, really good at this year? And where could you actually use some of those talents to shine bright spots on other things that didn't go as well? I hope that Productive Joy has been a blessing for you. Maybe you just found us, or maybe you've known about us for all year. We started in February, and here we are, December, already doing some pretty cool stuff. So I don't know when you found us, but my hope is that now that you have, you don't want to let us go. So please reach out to me and let me know, Christy, I would love to hear an episode on blank. Or I have this really cool friend who would be a great guest. Or could you please tell us more about whatever, fill in the blank? I would love for this podcast to be exactly what you need it to be. You as the learner, you as the listener, you as the humans. Tell me what productive joy means to you and how can we figure out a way to turn fun into action together? Because that is what this is all about. So go be amazing today and recognize that you do have a whole lot more influence than you realize over how you leverage your talents. And I'm hopeful that you're using them to do exactly that, to turn fun into action.